You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the market this morning. You're welcome back, and once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Well, yesterday we started off a discussion on the Petroleum Industry Act, but because of time, we were unable to round up the discussion. Today, we're going to continue on that discussion, but we're also going to be talking about energy transition. Yes, you can't really have one without the other because they both belong to pretty much the same sector. All right, so joining me in the studio today is Joseph Ago, and he is a political enthusiast. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, how do you think that this is going to affect Nigeria's economy come 2022?
There are a number of promises that come with the Petroleum Industry Act. You know, one way of looking at it is the act would reduce government spending in the oil and gas sector. Would give or afford the government the opportunity to take that sum that would have been spent in the oil and gas sector into other sectors of the economy, which would grow the general economy. Another promise that comes with the Petroleum Industry Act is that because of reduction in taxes, because of the liberalization of pricing, it's going to encourage independent or private players and even foreign direct investment in the oil and gas sector, which would in turn generate jobs and grow the general economy. I mean, we're talking about VAT. There'll be increase in VAT. There'll be increase in revenue to the government in terms of licensing and all that stuff. So there's a lot that comes in terms of gains from this PIA.
All right. Okay, so now you talk about money going into different sectors. Well, once again, I'm definitely going to have to come back to fuel subsidy. The issue of fuel subsidy and the transport palliative that's coming in. Now, we said this yesterday that the transport palliative costs basically twice as much as what is already costing the government for fuel subsidy. I mean, how exactly is this going to work when you talk about money being placed into other sectors when there's still another another extra trillion on top of what is already being spent on subsidy? How does that work? Or is it going to be a situation where we have private sector individuals coming in, we have foreign investors coming in, and the increase in VAT? Is this going to somehow balance it out? The government, what I see, the government is trying to kill two birds with one stone. The first is to reduce or cushion the effects of the removal of the fuel subsidy on general Nigerians. And also this large sum of money going into the economy in form of palliative is also a way of stimulating the general economy. Because if you leave the economy after the removal of fuel subsidy, we're talking about the Nigerian economy getting into another period of deep economic recession. So it's a two-edged sword. It's first of all supposed to cushion the harsh reality that comes with the removal of fuel subsidy, and also stimulate the general economy. People would have, I mean, for example, if an individual gets the palliative for transport, he can choose to use it to buy some tubers of yam instead of paying. So it's generally going to stimulate the economy. So it's, and of course, once the numbers are positive,
it gives confidence to people outside Nigeria to come do business in Nigeria. But so long as it remains negative, I mean, there's not that investor confidence.
All right, so I want to come to the host communities that has come up in the Petroleum Industry Act. So first of all, we're not really clear as to what exactly the host community is, what makes them a host community. There's also that question that has been thrown out to people. But either way, let's take a look at the 3% allocation that was given to those host communities. Now, what do you think about that? The initial request was for 10%. But it was dropped down to 5%, and then finally they settled down on 3%. And the whole essence of this is to give them a sense of belonging when it comes to the exploration of the basins around the area and all of that. Do you think that this is going to help to reduce the possibility or the chances of vandalization within those communities, which of course has been a very big issue?
Even before now, there are issues around corruption, especially with monies that go to the Niger Delta. We saw what's happened with the NADC probe. Now, off your mic, that's the entire incident. So there is a lot of corruption in how monies are spent in Niger Delta, but that is not to negate the fact that 3% is too small. I mean, 3% is too small. We're talking about a region that is, the South-South region is the most expensive place or part of Nigeria to live in. I mean, water is expensive, because the water source is largely contaminated. People
There's
have
a lot of pollution. And
people have a lot of there's a lot of disease burden because of that much negative impact these people are exposed to that comes from the environment. So 3% is very, very small when we look at it. But again, like I said yesterday, as much as the number of misgivings that come with these Petroleum Industry Acts, we should see how much gains we can draw from this. And if this does not produce the desired results, we can approach by way of amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act.
All right, so still on these communities, now from the reading or from the explanation of it, the 3% should, in case there is a vandalization, it would be the host community that would have to take the burden of the repairs and everything, all the costs and all of that. So moving forward, how well do you think this will sit with the people? And then also, when you take a look at the environmental degradation, as you rightly brought up, there's the issue of diseases. A lot of people, are getting ill, they don't have a good water supply, and all of that can affect one's health. Even with the 10%, can it really be quantified when it comes to the life and, the security of those people in that area?
The first is that's a clause that says if there's damage to any oil installation or any oil facility, maybe a pipeline in the Niger Delta, the cost will be borne by the host community. That is very, very sad to discover, because what that
because if you feel like you have nothing to lose anyway. So.
What that seems to communicate is that you are already saying that these people are criminals and potentially going to be doing this. So why don't we put, let's say, punitive measure around these potential activities or actions? But on a general note, the people of the Niger Delta, they've been shortchanged by, the federal government, since 1999 up until now, even before 1999. And they've also been shortchanged by their representatives because, the board of the Niger Delta is composed by people from the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta Development Commission is being run by people from the Niger Delta, but we've seen very staggering levels of corruption over the years. So it's very, very sad that at the end of the day, we see that development doesn't really trickle down. And if you're going to, I mean, like that clause, for example, if we're going to take that clause and go with it, it means that if, let's say, an extraneous element, let's say somebody that is not from Nigeria that comes and carries out an action, I mean, how are you going to investigate? I mean, so
what's the proof that it was somebody from
exactly?
The
so there is a lot of negatives that come from that particular clause.
All right. Now, I also asked about quantifying, when it comes to the life and security. Even that 10%, is it really up to it?
No, I mean, 3% is already small. 10% is
it's manageable.
But it doesn't quantify, it doesn't really address the problems or the challenges that are in Niger Delta. Niger Delta, I mean, should be declared, there should be a state of emergency in the Niger Delta. We're talking about, I mean, some months ago, there was a massive oil spill in Nembe local government. So there are ongoing environmental challenges. People diagnosed with fibroids, people diagnosed with cerebral cancer, and so on and so forth. I mean, people, blindness and so on and so forth. So there is need for the government to really look at the human beings that live in the Niger Delta. I mean, barring politics, look at the human beings in Niger Delta. If you're in their shoes, would you be happy if discussions around your livelihood, your existence, is being politicized? So I think at the end of the day, the Senate succumbed to politics. I mean, we saw it reduced from 10 to 5, as a market situation.
All right, so my final question before we go on our break. Now that we're talking about, the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, is it going to in any way take away attention from actually diversifying the economy? Because there's been a lot of talks. We have different sectors and different industries that have not really gotten the well-deserved attention that it actually needs, like the the agriculture sector, the mining sector, the tech sector. So many of them have, they are basically underfunded. And they do need that attention. Of course, the PIA is going to take a good couple $2 billion in order to really run it the proper way. So do you think that this is going to rob the attention from those other, those other sectors and basically stifle the growth in that area?
It's two ways. You can say that, and you can also say this PIA would really cause that force to run the Nigerian general economy, because of the foreign investment. I mean, security is a big issue in the oil and gas sector, so the security sector will definitely grow. Technology, I mean, we saw how technology is central to managing and driving efficiency in the oil and gas sector. I mean, the tech sector would also grow. I mean, fintechs will grow. So there's a knock-on, there's a trickle-down effect that this PIA will bring to the general economy, both directly and indirectly. So this PIA is a step in the right direction. Of course, there's so many parts that I wish we could amend, but it's a step in the right direction, and it is surely going to cause a trickle-down effect in the general economy. All
right, we'll go on a short break, and when we get back, we're going to be moving into energy transition, so don't go anywhere. All right, you're welcome back to the show. Once again, my name is Chamunda Beng, and I'm here with Joseph Ago, and we're basically having a mishmash discussion on the PIA and energy transition. So right now we're going to be focusing on energy transition, but as I said earlier on, you can't really have, you can't really talk about energy transition without bringing up the PIA. You can't really talk about PIA without bringing up energy transition, because it's all about energy at the end of the day. Yes. So as the rest of the world is actually making the move to, have more renewable sources of energy so that we can have a cleaner, more healthier environment, Nigeria has also pledged to do the same and have zero carbon emission by 2060. So we're going to be talking about that right now. So what do you think? Do you really see this coming to fruition by 2060? Remember that this is less than 40 years away from now.
I'll take the side of pessimism, okay. And I don't see us achieving that target in 2060 because, I mean, look at all the targets that we have set as a nation. And I mean, there was the 2000 target, there was 2010 target, there's 2020 targets. Mm-hmm. We have not been able to meet any of those targets.
Yeah.
So. I mean, by our track record as a nation, I don't see us meeting that target.
All right, so let's take a look at some tables here and charts. So let's take a look at Nigeria's greenhouse gas emissions compared to other African countries. Now, when you look at this list, Nigeria is practically fourth on the list. That's after Niger, Cameroon, Chad, we're actually we're fourth on the list here. So yes, then we'll also take a look at greenhouse emissions by economic sector. So we have the industry, which is also really high, land use, buildings, transport, and other energies. So in blue, you have direct emissions, which is up to 75%. And then emissions from electricity and heat production by sector is 25% of the total. But basically, a lot of it is taken up by energy. You can see here where we get a lot of these greenhouse emissions. Now, come 2060, there's also talk of us having electric cars, and for a country that one has poor road infrastructure, two has poor access to electricity. I mean, we still have about 30% of the population that does not have access to electricity. I mean, how possible is this for Nigeria to achieve this in the next 39 years to come?
If you even look at the PIA also has taken steps in the negative direction with regards to us reaching that target by 2020. For example, there was not enough that really spoke to eliminating gas flaring in the Niger Delta in oil exploration. And number two, we're talking about opening up new exploration frontiers in the north. So if you're talking about achieving zero emission, shouldn't you be investing or divesting off from the oil and gas sector and getting into other areas, investing in low carbon alternatives and renewables energy? So it's, of course, even the bill also speaks to the fact that Nigeria is just, I think we were in a hurry to really make that pledge to attain zero emission by 2060. But when you look at that pledge and match it with our actions, Nigeria doesn't look like we're serious about achieving that target.
All right, so Nigeria wasn't actually the only country that pledged for 2060. I believe Saudi Arabia also pledged for 2060, but other countries like the US, UK, they were between 2040 to 2050. But yeah, what do you think about the fact that, we're so behind when it comes to even that dating itself?
I mean, Saudi Arabia, for example, they are investing heavily in
oil.
Of course, they are oil rich. They're the number one oil nation. But they have been investing over the years in green energy. Okay. They have been investing over the years in low carbon alternatives. But we have not seen that much. I mean, Saudi Arabia, there are schools or institutions in Saudi Arabia that are heavily funded so that they can be research and development in areas of green energy and low carbon alternatives. But we don't see all of those moves in Nigeria. The UK, like Saudi Arabia also, the US, like Saudi Arabia also, they are investing in green energy. But we have not made steps in that. I mean, look at solar panels, for example. Do we produce solar panels in Nigeria? Do we produce batteries in Nigeria? are there any wind turbines in Nigeria? As old as wind energy is, are there wind turbines in Nigeria? Do we have, how much have we maximized our hydro electric potentials? How about gas? For example, we're the largest producer of, we're the country with the largest gas reserves, but we're the third largest producer of gas in Africa, behind Egypt and Algeria, and we are behind these countries by some distance. So there is a lot of contradiction. The thing is, Nigeria just wants. I think sometimes we go to these conferences and want to just play along, and sometimes we get.
So you feel like it was more of a diplomatic statement?
Of course, because that sort of pledge will come with foreign direct investments. Nigeria's pledged.
Yeah, according to President Buhari, it would take us about $400 billion thereabout.
Yeah, so some countries will want to partner with us, but it's just about the money. But we're really not taking steps towards ensuring that we grow. The large part of Nigeria is heavily reliant on cutting down trees and making firewood and charcoal, and using that as a source of energy. So
it still brings up the discussion also of the cost of gas today.
Exactly.
So now a lot of families have had to go back to that as a substitute to gas, because they can't really afford. Gas right now is 9,000 naira for 12 kg cylinder. That's quite high. All right, so let's take a look at our next table here, and it's the amount of gas flared at onshore offshore sites from 2017 to 2021 and the monetary value. So the one in red is basically how much Nigeria has lost compared to how much the country has actually made. Now, taking a look at this, and now we have the Petroleum Industry Act. We're still talking about not diversification. We're talking about clean energy, renewable energy by 2060. Now, looking at this, does it really say, or is the government being prudent, or is it prudent for the government, to invest in frontier basin exploration versus, trying to find out more on renewable energy, placing a lot of investment there? Of course,
it's a wrong move by the government to invest in frontier basins. If you look at the areas that are touted with having oil deposits, there are areas that are very much open to takeover by bandits and terrorists. So, for example, if we develop oil exploration in, let's say, in some of these areas, and give or take, these areas are overtaken by bandits, we have just armed and put some spring into the steps of these criminals. So first of all, it doesn't make security sense to really invest in frontier basins or frontier areas. And it also doesn't make economic sense because it is going to be more expensive, because according to the general manager of NNPC, he said oil exists in these parts in solid form compared to liquid form in the Niger Delta. So converting that and refining that comes at a cost. So it's an expensive venture, and it also doesn't make security sense to make such investment. So my advice to the government is, why don't we take that potentially, that is, according to some people with calculators, they have said it is about $400 million US potentially going to these areas where there is some oil discovery. That $400 million US can go into sectors that really need stimulation. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about aside even investment in renewable energy. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about education. We're talking about transportation. We're talking about agriculture. It can go into these areas, and these people would definitely benefit.
All right, so unfortunately, we've run out of time once again. But yes, when it comes to energy transition and the PIA, I mean, if we're really serious about working towards renewable energy in 2060, then steps need to be taken, I think, from now. Basically, we need to hit the ground running to start making those plans so we can have renewable energy by 2060, that is, if the government really wants to bring it to fruition. And for the PIA, there are definitely areas that need to be touched here and there so that it actually works in favor of the country come 2022. Yeah. All right, so we've come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph, for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching the show. Do remember to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube on Trust TV News. Well, once again, my name is Chamon Dabeng. Come back again for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.